Chapter 31 Never Cease the Spiritual Training of Yourself. During your journey on the path of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu, you may experience moments of spiritual emptiness or moments of fatigue when you will decide to take a step back. This is a grave mistake. Tarbiyatun Nafs, educating your soul, is obligatory for the Salik, the Wayfarer, as it is the very purpose of committing to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must remain steadfast in your struggle against your soul. If you exempt yourself from this, it will not only be a lack of adab, but it will also be a failure on your part regarding a clear obligation towards Allah. That is why you must make sure to never reduce your efforts. If you can't commit to more, try at least to maintain consistency in your daily work. Indeed, it is better to stick to what you can do consistently, possibly adding small additional efforts, rather than making much effort that will later be abandoned. If the Shaykh notices consistency and stability in a disciple's efforts on the path, he will add supplementary supererogatory acts. But if these are abandoned, the disciple will be guilty of a major failure regarding an obligation, and it will be proved that his heart still leans towards the here below, the dunya. At the beginning of the path, many disciples are carried by a strong himma, a strong spiritual aspiration. They perform a lot of dhikr and worship, ibadat. We see them read their daily Quran chapters, praying until shuruk, sunrise. Unfortunately, disciples often end up succumbing to their nafs, which reminds them of the here below. It suggests to them, you have children, a wife, and a job. You're tired. You're doing too much. You can afford to stop this. If the murid succumbs to these lowly suggestions of the nafs and gives up the struggle, he reveals that his heart is indeed filled with love for the here below. So, observe where you stand with your nafs. If you find yourself lazy in reading your daily Quran, in fulfilling your wird and arising for invocation in the last third of the night, know that in truth your heart has been taken away. You have drowned in the here below, and you are sinking in following your passions. There are many other signs indicating that the disciple's heart has been taken by this lower world. Among these signs is the fact that he never stops talking about miracles, karamat, visions, mushahadat, or lights, anwar, whereas we see no trace of these on him, and his body looks distant from the divine presence. You hear him talk about staying up all night in prayer, qiyam, fasting, siyam, and spiritual seclusion, khulwa, while his body does not show any of this. If we were to rely on the disciples' words alone, we would say all of them are masha'Allah. But words matter little to us, only actions have value. You talk so much, but if you were to erase the knots of tarbiyah within you like the wird, dhikr, or qiyam, it would be enough for the limbs of your body to start serving your passions. Shaykh Buzidi, may Allah be pleased with him, says, our hearts were taken by the here below until Allah Jalla Jalaluhu changed our state. Indeed, we come from the same nafs, and this attachment to the here below is natural, except for the one to whom Allah has granted change. Thus were you yourselves beforehand, but Allah has been gracious to you. Surah Nisa, verse 94. Shaykh al-Buzidi used to make the following prayer: O Allah, we only receive from you what you desire to give us, and if you desire to destroy us, then that would be your justice and your right, because we are deserving of it. You have certainly shown your benevolence to those for whom you desire proximity, and you have covered the one who is close to you. Who else would take our hand if we turned away, and who would answer us if we become ignorant? Who would forgive us but you if we overstep our limits? Beware of yourself so that Allah may enlighten you. Be careful not to untie the knot of tarbiyah as long as you are in this place. Renew your intention several times a day, because one can only persist on the path if one loves it, and one can only reap its fruits if one loves it. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ tells us, actions are judged by intentions, so each man will have what he intended. Thus, he whose migration was to Allah and His Messenger, his migration is to Allah and His Messenger. But he whose migration was for some worldly thing he might gain, or for a wife he might marry, his migration is to that for which he migrated. By regularly renewing your intention to wage jihad, the jihad al-akbar, that is to say, the struggle against yourself, you will be counted among those who have accomplished it. When you wake up each morning, take care to question your soul about the efforts it has made the day before, and be careful not to do less. On the contrary, try to do more, because the disciple who decreases his daily efforts will one day give up everything. Many think they can rest on their laurels when they think they have reached a particular maqam, This is a grave mistake. If you diminish your efforts, you will lose everything you possess. At best, you will return to the station of ordinary people, and at worst, you will become an enemy of the tariqah. We often see this in the tariqah. Some disciples who were serious and persevering began to have doubts upon reaching the first, second, or third secret. You must be very attentive to your inner state, because even merely having doubts about the secret marks the beginning of the disciple's downfall. Little by little, he will see the light retreat from his heart until it completely disappears. And when the light and the secret leave the disciple's heart, he reverts to the state of ordinary people and acts like them. He will slowly start to criticize and deny the secrets until he detests them, and then he will fall even lower in the station of ordinary people. To you who wish to purify yourself, you now understand that there is no intermediate station in the effort to be made. There's either an increase or a decrease. For those of you who find yourselves in a situation of decrease, death is preferable rather than reaching the point of no return, which would be a true disaster. Constantly search your heart to know whether your soul is more engaged in the struggle than yesterday, and whether it is putting more or less effort in the way of Allah. If you find it reduced in its efforts, you must immediately correct this state. A soul that, instead of increasing its efforts, is not consistent, will eventually abandon everything until it becomes the enemy of the path of Allah. The disciple who exhibits intelligence is the one who constantly probes his soul to put it in order. Without this order, all acts are in vain, because Islam is the religion of order. It is the religion in which time must be intelligently managed, as reported by the Prophet ﷺ, "Do not curse time, for Allah is time." Shaykh Buzidi says on this subject, reflect on this, because there is a secret to be lived behind the management of one's time. If you observe closely, you will see that Islam is the religion of time management, and this is especially true when one aspires to its highest degrees. Prayer has its defined time. The same goes for the wird and all the obligations of the disciple, which are clearly fixed in time. You must always be alert about the management of your time, for everything will be in vain for those who do not manage their time correctly. If you truly aspire to engage in the inner jihad, meaning to struggle against your soul until it is purified, then you must avoid the company of the weak. You should turn away from those who doubt the way of Allah and from people of uncertainty, even if they are your friends and your family. Understand that Allah strengthens you. If sitting among the weak weakens the strong, i.e., those who are firmly anchored in the way of Allah, then what about the beginner, the weak who would frequent the weak, who are the people of the here below? The one who loves to mingle with them is no different from the one who deeply loves the here below. This vain love will deprive you of access to the luminous presence of your Lord. It is not surprising to have relatives who criticize or oppose the Sufi path of light, al-Mahja al-Bayda, that is a tariqah or a Shaykh. On the contrary, it is part of Allah's destiny that your relatives, even your wife or family, vehemently criticize the path. If you cannot divorce them, you must feel imprisoned at the very least. If on the contrary, you love their company and joke with them, know then that you share the same heart and that you are part of them. Do not be reassured just because you continue to see the light. In reality, it is a witness against the one to whom it appears while he is among the weak, the detractors, and the enemies of the way. You absolutely must distance yourself from these kinds of people if you hope to preserve your noble and elevated thoughts for your afterlife. The Chosen One, ﷺ, tells us in a hadith, a man follows the religion of his friend, so each one should consider whom he makes his friend. In this way, it is vital to choose your companions wisely. The seeker must preserve and place great importance on gatherings between disciples, as they offer immense spiritual aspiration himma and other benefits. Moreover, it is absolutely impossible for a person devoid of light to love tarbiyah, the spiritual training of their soul, through prayer, fasting, and pilgrimage, siyaha. Those whose hearts are dark and devoid of light will always be lazy when it comes to tarbiyah. Shaykh Buzidi relates from his Shaykh, Sidi Munir Al-Karkari. He tells us, for the ones to whom Allah wants to bestow great good, He guides them to the light of faith, Nurul Iman, and from this light, He will give them success in the tarbiyah of their soul. Of course, and as we constantly repeat, we consider all those who say the Shahada, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, as Muslims. But it should be noted that this is not about the station of Islam, but rather the light of the station of Iman. And only those who have this light and have a living heart can truly taste and desire this spiritual training. The disciple with an illuminated heart desires nothing other than that which leads to Allah. As for those whose hearts lack this light of faith, we reiterate, they are unquestionably lazy, even if they perform prayers and supererogatory acts. This is because you will always find them hesitant to train themselves spiritually, and thus are constantly subject to their passions. Let's continue with Shaykh Buzidi, who cites three types of light: the light of fear, of hope, and of ardent desire. The light of fear is that through which the disciple finds the strength and spiritual desire to perform acts of piety to ascend towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The light of hope is that through which the body will be able to direct itself towards asceticism, towards zuhud. The light of passion, ardent desire, and great love is the most powerful. The vision of this light is a very high spiritual station, since it originates from divine attributes, and it is through this witnessing that the seeker will truly worship his Lord as if he saw him. The one who ardently aspires to realize themselves through the light of faith must know that they need to fulfill three conditions. The first is to distance yourself from creation, both in body and in speech. This clarification is important because it is possible to distance yourself physically while remaining connected verbally. However, complete detachment is crucial. The second condition is to constantly seek the presence and knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be it through reflecting on a verse, meditating on creation, or something else. The last condition is to not go to excesses in the consumption of food. When your stomach is empty, your thoughts rise and turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, while they dissipate when your stomach is full. If these three conditions are followed, you will see the lights and secrets unveiled to you, and you will see with your own eyes what we mentioned previously by the grace of Allah. If you want to benefit from your thought, meditation, and reflections, you should seek solitude and not waste your time conversing among people. And if you claim to have delved into the oceans of reflection and knowledge without having any of these characteristics, know that this is impossible, and you have not even smelled the fragrant scent of these sciences. If you make these efforts, you will see the results. You will see the lessening or even lifting of the veils that separate you from your Creator. However, remember that all of this is only possible for those who have placed themselves in the companionship, in the suhbah of a true Shaykh of Tarbiyah, who is a knower of Allah, Arif Billah. It is only through him that the seeker can attain divine knowledge, Marifah. By reading books with your own confined intellect, you will not achieve anything. They might weaken the veil of separation with your Lord, but they will never make it disappear, because the station of direct vision and divine connection is impossible for those who refuse to place themselves in the hands of the true Shaykh. In the Karkari tariqah, direct vision, mushahada, and nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, muraqabah, is possible for the disciple from the very beginning of the path, and this is a great blessing. With persistent effort, the disciple will see the light wherever they look. They must seek the divine presence if they hope to stay connected with the light. This effort will lead them to perceive the light before everything, in everything, and after everything. They will be fully in muraqabah, and the connection with their Lord will be constantly through direct vision. To reach this station, the traveler must be under the guidance of a Shaykh who is perfectly knowledgeable of spiritual states, perfectly knowledgeable of the nafs, the lower self, and perfectly knowledgeable of the different readings of the name of Allah. The banner of this knowledge can only be raised by those who know by Allah, Arifin Billah. Accompany them until you see nothing in this world but yourself. At this station, you will become the center, the markaz, around which everything orbits. And when you look at what is orbiting around you, you will see only yourself. Creation itself will fade from your sight. After reaching this station, you will return to creation through the eye of separation, the eye of farq, and realize yourself in it. This is exactly the journey we follow, step by step, in the Karkariya tariqah. After the khulwa, the spiritual retreat, you disappear into the light, and you no longer see creation. Then, with the second secret, you see diversity and separation within the union itself. Understand, that says Shaykh Buzidi, and this is only said when a great secret lies behind it. Only those who have reached these secrets will understand. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad kama sallaita ala Sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali Sayyidina Ibrahim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad kama barakta ala Sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali Sayyidina Ibrahim fil alameen innaka hamidun majid.